Do you ever feel stuck or trapped with certain emotions like anger or fear or sadness, and you don't know how to get out of that rut? It's like your default emotions. I'm going to give you a tip that's going to completely change your world. For those who don't know me, I'm Karen Leigh. I'm a hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner. I work with people around low self-worth, limiting beliefs, which is the negative self-talk that holds us back in life, and generally getting out of that rut, emotional blocks that hold us back. That's where I come in useful. So every emotion that exists is within us. We have within us every single emotion. Confidence is in there, anger is in there, fear, happiness, excitement. Sometimes our default emotion can be the undesired emotions. I don't believe there's such a thing as a negative emotion. They all serve a purpose. Emotions are our body's way of communicating with us, saying something needs to be addressed here. If it's fear or guilt or anger, we need to acknowledge what that is. And often in our busy lives, we don't really get a chance to do that. We're also not taught to do that. We've almost lost that sense of looking at, what is this? Why is this showing up? Why am I feeling angry, or why am I feeling the fear? A really important message that I have for you is that you are allowed to feel those emotions. When emotions like anger or frustration or guilt show up, that's okay. Like I said, there's no such thing as a negative emotion. It's just maybe not so pleasant. It's an undesired emotion, but it serves a purpose. Like I said, it's your body's way of communicating with you and telling you that something needs to be addressed. We lead such busy lives these days that we don't often get a chance to just sit with our emotions, and we're not taught the practices, the mindset practices, or even journaling is a big one for me, to actually take that time to acknowledge what these emotions are and just sitting with them and knowing that they'll pass and not letting them consume us. It's a big frustration for me that we're not taught this, as children. We are not taught to, how to navigate emotions. And so often our emotions get suppressed. So we end up with all of this emotional residue that's just sitting there, and it will manifest in other ways. When you have an anger outburst, or your frustration comes out in a way that isn't very productive. And think of all the decisions that you've made because of anger or sadness or fear, or think of the decisions that you haven't made because of fear or because of some of those other emotions. Because every decision that we make is emotionally driven. So if we're not navigating certain emotions like sadness or anger or guilt, if we have a lot of suppressed or emotional residue of these emotions, then we're going to be making decisions that come from these emotions that aren't very productive for us in life. I'm sure we can all think of some examples maybe in the past. Every decision that we've ever made and that we will make is emotionally driven. Think of all the decisions that you've made in anger or happiness, or from confidence, or from a place of fear. And think of all the decisions that you haven't made because of fear, the actions that you haven't then taken because fear has held you back. Those anger outbursts that we have, and we make decisions in the moment because we have these, stagnant emotions in our body that we haven't acknowledged, and they're still there. If we don't address emotions in the moment or acknowledge them, they're still sitting there waiting to be acknowledged, and they'll show up in other ways. And I'm sure we can all think of experiences we've had in the past where that has happened, and these emotions have manifested in a way that have not served us well. And as well as decisions being emotionally driven, we are also taking on limiting beliefs because of these undesired emotions such as anger or fear or hurt. A limiting belief is a negative self-talk that comes in and talks you down. When you think of something that you'd love to do or be or feel or achieve, and the negative self-talk comes in and tells you why you will never be able to achieve that. Common ones are, I'm not clever enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm too old now, or I'm too young to do that. These are limiting beliefs. They are not true. You are not born with them. I'm going to do a whole other video on limiting beliefs because I know from the work that I do that limiting beliefs are one of the biggest things that hold us back in life, the biggest things that's holding us back from living a fulfilled life, from doing the things that we actually want to do. But first, we need to get to the emotions. You can have two people with the exact same situation presented to them. One of them will take on the limiting belief, such as, I'm never going to achieve that. The other one will not take on that limiting belief because they've had a completely different experience with their emotions and they're mentally able to say in their mind, no, don't think so. I'm going off to achieve this thing. Whereas the other person, because of their experience in the past with emotions, the emotions that we're talking about here are anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. These are driver emotions. These are depressive emotions, which then, if these aren't acknowledged, if our caregivers didn't attend to us when we were handling those emotions for the first time, then we go on to have problems with these emotions throughout the rest of our childhood, into our adulthood, and then we end up as adults who are struggling to navigate these emotions and have all of the limiting beliefs that we've taken on because of these emotions. The key is getting to the root, which is something that I do with my clients through timeline therapy. I'll leave the link in the description below to go and check out timeline therapy. It's an absolute game changer. But for now, I just want to leave you with a little tip because we are never stuck. So if you do feel that you're someone who struggles with emotions and maybe your default emotions are, the undesired ones, maybe it's anger, maybe it's fear, maybe fear's holding you back, maybe it's frustration, maybe you're frustrated at life and frustrated at the decisions that you're unable to take action on. Whatever that may be, we are never stuck. Take it from someone who was completely consumed with limiting beliefs throughout my teenage years and my 20s. They held me back. My negative self-talk consumed me and I managed to overcome them. I managed to get to the root of those emotions, work with those emotions. And if I can do it, honestly, I think anyone can. So the tip that I promised you at the start of the video was to get curious. Get curious about your emotions, whether that's through meditation, whether it's through journaling, which I love, just writing it down, getting curious, asking questions. Why is this emotion showing up? What is it trying to tell me? Recently, I moved to, halfway across the world. I'm currently in Texas. You can tell I'm Scottish from the accent. And this was something I always wanted to do. I went on a beautiful walk round here one morning and I noticed that fear was showing up. And I got curious about that. What was that fear trying to tell me? I had created the life that I love. I was homeschooling my children. I had the career that I loved. I had sold my home and moved halfway across the world for now. So why was this fear showing up when I had everything that I wanted? And I got curious about it and started asking questions. I didn't let it consume me. And what I realized was I was feeling the fear around going back to a life or having a life that I didn't want, going back to 10 years ago, falling back into old habits. And I used that fear. Now, fear, any emotion is an energy. And we get to choose. There are emotions, it's our energy. We get to choose what we do with that. So we can use those emotions, if it's fear, whatever that is. I used that fear that I felt as a driver towards what I did want, rather than letting it hold me back and consuming me. I refused to feed those thoughts of fear. And it went away. Once I acknowledged it, it went away. Bear in mind, I've done a lot of work around emotions and I have had timeline therapy and I have gotten to the root and I've done the work on my limiting beliefs. So you can do that too. But if you really don't know where to start and you do feel stuck, get curious. Start asking, why is this emotion showing up? What is it trying to tell me? When is it triggered? And just ask it. Ask your unconscious mind, what do I need to do to make this fear go away? And you'll get the answer. All the answers are within you. Sometimes it does take someone else to help pull the magic out of you, as long as you're willing to meet them halfway. So that is the biggest tip that I have if you're struggling with emotions. Sit with them, get curious, However you want to do that is entirely up to you, but get curious about those emotions. It's a game changer. And let me know if this video was helpful, and then I can make more little tips to help you with your mindset, your emotions, your limiting beliefs. Let's get you to a place where you're thriving. Don't forget to hit the like button as well if you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. You'll be notified when the next video comes out. Thank you so much.